Hey, Creon. I need to reopen the chat. There we go. No game, only darkness. Oh, let's see. I can crank up my face there a little bit. You know what? I'll have me there and then... Sorry, I'm getting over like a throat thing. I think, I rage quit New Vegas. No, I just don't. It's been a very violent week. Personally, publicly, I don't feel like shooting stuff today. Another day, yeah, I had my weekend was good, objectively. I was a panelist at Armadillo Con for all 3 days, and that was great. It's I've been to a couple cons, but never like a genre con. Like this? Okay, yeah, that works. Kinda. Not really. Let's see. I don't want to have... How do I just like... Okay. No, this can't be... This can't work. No. So yeah, I did the con, and that was really fun. I learned some stuff. It was like one of the first, honestly, like one of the first, like, true social events that, I've done since I got here, since I live so out in the fucking boonies. It's pretty hard to do the kind of, socialization that I was used to doing in LA, so that was really nice. But, I mean, it was still a little stressful. It was like an hour-and-a-half drive each way for 3 days, and I was already like, I was freaked out about the Charlie Kirk thing, and then that situation just got freakier and freakier, and I was really sad about my chickens, you know. That didn't help. I don't know. They're okay. So they're... Can the stream be just about you researching and writing? What the fuck is up, yo? Yes. Yeah. So the... Jesus fuck. It just feels so inauspicious, you know? The day Charlie Kirk got shot, I was like glued to the news. Hampton sequel. I was glued to the news, and I was super distracted, and I went out to get the eggs from the chickens, and like every now and then I just kind of leave the door open. I'm sure you can see where this is going, so chickens can leave the coop and walk around, and then I go back and let them back in, or shut them back up and whatever. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted in the middle of my sentence there. Reading Crab with a Knife's comment. No, I'm not celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I'm not mourning for him. I know he deserves to get shot in the neck in front of their children and hundreds of onlookers, and have it live streamed, even though that is a fate that he wished on other people. I certainly don't wish it on him. I don't wish it on anybody, which is why I hate that he said that. Not once, but multiple times, It's fucked up. The thing that I'm upset about a lot of things, but like a guy like Charlie Kirk deserves to die old and irrelevant. A guy like Charlie Kirk deserves to live long enough to see society grow past him and fade into obscurity. And it pisses me off. That is the proper justice for a person like Charlie Kirk, and it pisses me off not only that that will never happen now, but that this event is, you know, becoming an excuse for all sorts of horrible shit. Living out in the sticks has its perks, though. Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, I went to go let the chickens out. I did. I went back inside. I put the eggs away, and then a friend called me, and then I had a meeting, and then I opened the door and let the dogs outside. And they got 3 chickens and killed them. Including 2 of my favorites. And that made me extremely sad. And, like, I was already... It was just really, really weird, bad, violent vibes last Wednesday, you know. It's like, already this thing has happened, and holy shit, it's so fucked up. I just watched Charlie Kirk bleed out on stage, and so did everybody who has an Instagram account, because that's the kind of state our communication systems are in now, you know. And then you know, I'm thinking about that and talking to people about it, and then also my pets have met an extremely violent end at the hands or at the teeth, I guess, of my other pets, and it's my fault. It's all my fault, you know. It really sucks. It's like and Morbid Man, bless his heart, was the one who found it and cleaned it all up, and so I didn't have to see anything or whatever. But like, he was telling me, he was, you know, like, he went back to work the next day. It's Texas, everybody has chickens, and his boss was like, oh, well, you know, what you got to do is, like, you know, instead of naming each individual chicken, you got to name the breed, and then when you replace them, then they'll just be, you know, just name them the same thing, which is a great idea. But also, like, I'm not sad about my chickens because I named them. You know, like, I still would have understood them as individuals and bonded with them in that way. So yeah, there's just no way of getting around that. I put a lot of effort into those birds, a lot of emotional energy. They certainly made my life a lot better than Charlie Kirk ever did. So it's very weird. Like, I'm yeah, I don't know. But it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, all animals have personalities. Your existence is the game. Let's see. I need to... It's just that I would love to share screen, but I don't know how to do it without displaying OBS too. I guess I could just, like, pick up chat, and could I just drag it off screen? Yeah, I can, apparently. Okay, and then nope. If I minimize that, then chat minimizes also. Can't have that. Turn off display capture. Maybe if I do window capture, right? Yeah, that seems right. But I want multiple window captures. Can I do that, I wonder? Dead Mouse Chest is the best one. I have a hard time wrapping my head around, do you guys interpret any of his views as hateful or deserving of some kind of retribution? Well, I mean, where do you want to start? He was unapologetically homophobic and transphobic and quite racist and extremely supportive of this administration, which is doing a lot of fucking damage to this country. I mean, I don't know. You haven't said anything about your views about Trump crab with a knife, but you've never expressly defended him. Well, Charlie Kirk sure fucking did. One of the last things Charlie Kirk ever did in his waste of a life was say that it's probably time to stop talking about Epstein. So, I mean, like, I don't want to hear anybody on the right, anybody on the center, anybody anywhere, talking about how who used to talk about how Trump was gonna fix all the Epstein thing and it was gonna be the storm or whatever, say that they ever care about victims of sex trafficking ever again. after what the right has how much the right has completely 180'd on that. I mean, he didn't believe that women should get an education. He didn't believe that women should have careers. He believed that women should get married as young as possible and have babies and not work, even though his wife worked. He was a bad faith interlocutor. He built a career off going to college campuses and instead of actually talking with the professors there, talked with fucking 19-year-olds for the express purpose of clip chipping them to fuck and building his TikTok credibility that way. He was extremely, he rage baited for a living. He was extremely, he was a great illustration of the kind of propaganda social media represents right now that we have not gotten our minds around, where it's like, it's not about the entirety of your career as a public speaker. That's not what people are looking at. People are being delivered whatever it is about you that's going to resonate with you most. On the left, it's expressly everything that I'm saying, for sure, which is still rage bait. And on the right, at least on the center right, on the center right, it's going to be his sort of like motivational speaker type stuff. He was a very gifted orator at that kind of thing. And on the far right, it's going to be the rest of what I just said. It's part of why the Groypers were so intent on making him more extreme than he already was, to some success. Calculating 95% of cases of political violence in recent years have been perpetrated by conservative individuals, and Elon lost his mind. Yeah, I saw that post. Was it 95%? I thought it was the 75% statistic. I know. Elon's so mad about his own creation. Don't you hate it when the apple falls that far from the tree? You didn't rage bait. You guys just get mad about literally everything that's based in reality. I don't know what to... Okay. Look. I'd ask you what you mean, but I'm not sure you know. Oh, yeah, and that's right. He listed professors on his fucking website so that they could be targeted for harassment. I know professors who, for whom that was a serious and actionable issue. This free speech absolutist was sending people to go harass professors and dox them and get them fired because they said shit that he didn't like. Like, I mean, there's nothing free speech about that. This isn't. It's impossible to defend if your standard is free speech. Crab with a knife. It sounds like you're the one who's being a little triggered to me. You seem to be pretty mad about shit that's certainly not happening here. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. The shit that the shit that Charlie Kirk said, his policy ideas, his philosophy, whatever. Okay, I don't know what you're trying to achieve by browbeating someone on home turf with something that would only be insulting to you. The things that he said, because like it, and this is completely a product of our current fucked up communication system. That like there's this vibe around that seems to suggest that you shouldn't actually take Charlie Kirk seriously, the things that he says. Like he says all these sexist and racist things, and promotes conspiracy theories and like replacement theory and shit. And oh, hi Carlos. Promotes these conspiracy theories, and it seems like the attitude is like, well, he doesn't actually mean that. You can't take him seriously when he says stuff like that. That's not what he means. It's like, when are you supposed to take somebody seriously then? It seems like there's this, how am I a trans person supposed to respond other than being enraged? Yeah. I mean, Charlie Kirk thought that being trans should be illegal. Like not for children, for everybody. Like, if you're I don't think it should be surprising for anybody who thinks that trans people are a thing that exists to think that that's a reprehensible and scary thing to say for somebody with that much power and money and influence and connections in the federal government, which is now in charge. Like, what? It doesn't seem, I mean, even if you like, all you have to do to understand that perspective is understand that some people, at least some people, think that trans people are real, even if you don't. So no, I don't buy this thing of like, I don't see what he said that's so bad, that's like making everybody so upset. It's disingenuous. Yeah, you do. You just don't think that the things some people care about are worth caring about. What were I talking about? I feel like I was in the middle of something. I can't remember. Yeah, political violence has no place in America. That is the line. It used to be thoughts and prayers. It's been support the troops. This is the new one. Political violence has no place in America. The problem with saying that is that it clearly does. And the conversation should be, what kind of political violence is happening? And what are we doing about it? That's such a blindered, you know, intentionally ignorant, willfully ignorant thing to say. Totally new to Twitch. Can someone tell me where the messages are coming from that aren't in the chat box? They're from YouTube, yeah. Nancy Mace is it? Oh yeah, you like the older ladies. Well, she's crazy. So do you like crazy girls, Hampton? Our current fucked up communication system is the result of a larger system that allows people to amass huge amounts of wealth without skill or expertise. And because those people do not have real expertise, they have an insecurity and so will lash out against those who do and would tell them they are wrong. Yup. Damn. Oh, yeah, he was a total gish galloper. He was not a good debater. He was a good orator. But I mean, he gish galloped, he lied, he used every single logical fallacy imaginable, and every like, I mean, truly, if you get a checklist out and pull out like a good long Charlie Kirk debate, like hour and a half or so, and you'll, I mean, it's a great drinking game or perhaps bingo, you know, you'll see at least 50% of that list filled out. It's called Lord of the Rings research because if I can get my shit together and summon enough energy, I'm gonna use this stream to do research. We'll see. Hey, there we go. There's one window capture. Can I do another window capture? Actually, that's plenty. You don't need to see my notes. So yeah, it's been like it's been a real weird, rough week for everybody, but yeah, very stressful, very sort of extra added stress for me. I think that's what made me sick. And also yesterday, me and my partner had to have the fun conversation, the first like real conversation about like what's our line in the sand for when I gotta get out of the fucking country, you know. There's several bills introduced right now for passport revocation based on thought crime, and so that's my line. If any of those pass, I'm taking the next flight to Mexico City and watching everything happen from there, and hopefully the Supreme Court strikes down. But if they don't, I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be here for that. I explained to the average American that hate speech is a form of violence and therefore not protected by the First Amendment. I'm actually not sure. I should. I just haven't thought about that particular issue and come up with the, you know, should give me a little bit of, be a good research topic, actually. A good excuse to do some conflict research, which I've been meaning to do a little more of. Let's see, does anybody else have any ideas? I mean, like, I just, it's not that I have nothing to say to that, it's just that I don't think I'd say anything that is any different from anything else you've heard, you know. Speech can be a form of terrorization. That's quite obvious. That's why you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. It's not protected speech to incite that kind of panic or certain kinds of emotion in people for the benefit of nothing but manipulating them. The problem is that obviously it's really hard to define the parameters of that. I don't know. That's a good question to look into. I'm gonna write it down. Oh my god. I'm sure many people have made much better arguments than I can come up with on the fly. No hummus. I'm out of any kind of dip. OBS does not like it when you try to capture more than one video. Fine. I won't try. Crab with a knife, you know as well as anybody else does that that's not all he said. That has never been all he said. If that was all he said, nobody would be fucking mad. If all he did was say that and didn't found super PACs and didn't hang out with white nationalists like Jack Posobiec and invite people like Jack Posobiec to speak at fucking America Fest or whatever, nobody would be mad. Like, don't be a fool, you know, come on. Alright, bye, Creon. Have I looked into Ursula K. Le Guin's take on Lord of the Rings? I have. In fact, I have it. I think it's one of the things I have pulled up here. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yes. Yeah, it's a good one. This kind of research, it's pretty common to like read through a whole fucking article and be like, okay, well that was useless. But frequently it'll be just a really good article anyway, so at least it's fun. That's what this article is for me, for this Gollum video. I suppose the first assumption to question is that all speech is good and noble to someone else. Well, I mean, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Did I finish that thought? I don't remember. I've got such brain fog from being sick and being depressed. Where it's like, so the argument seems to be that like, just like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Like all he said was this, and all he said, which is not true. He said morally reprehensible things, un-American things, you know. He said things that are like traitorous to the Constitution, you know, advocated for policies that I don't want to see in this country, and that in any previous generation of this country wouldn't even be considered. Like, those are the kinds of opinions that he espoused. And it seems like, yeah, the argument is that you're not supposed to take that serious. It's just a meme, you know? It's just rhetoric. It's just rhetoric. He's just making a point. And it's like, when are you supposed to take it seriously? It's like, Charlie Kirk had a lot of money, he had a lot of influence, he had a lot of political pull. He was extremely important. He was like instrumental into the rise of the far right online, and especially instrumental in mobilizing young people for the benefit of Donald Trump. Pretending as if all he did was talk is nonsense. If that was all he did, nobody would give a fuck about him. He wouldn't have gained the influence that he had. I'm so over this attitude of well, healthy debate. Well, everybody needs to be able to speak freely. It's such an aphorism. Yes, everybody needs to speak freely. Speaking online is not, I'm not convinced it's speaking freely. I am not convinced that there's like a reliable degree to which you can guarantee free speech online in the way that we've defined it in the past. It is not a value neutral communication device. It's been so unbelievably upsetting watching how everybody, I mean, not everybody obviously, but watching the kind of just cascade of misinformation and eulogizing on one hand and utter cruelty on the other hand, and it's not, it's only partially us, you know. We're only a little bit of, we're only one ingredient in the recipe of what am I trying to say, social media toxicity, I guess. Yeah, I'm also sick of capital P politics. Oh, don't pray for the apocalypse. Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Remember, Denethor and Saruman are both black-pilled doomers. That's why they joined Sauron. Yeah, da, 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 da. I saw a pastor yesterday say that the way you die doesn't change the way you lived. And that's how I feel about it. That's kind of the beginning and end of how I feel about it, you know. Multi-tab organizing behavior. You've not begun to see my tabs. Have you ever considered that you unfairly assign the label of racist to people? Me? Well, yeah, of course. I think anybody who is willing to use that word, like, should investigate what they mean by racist. I mean, I'm part of the reason, like, part of what makes me sad about you, Crab with a Knife, is that it's curious because, like, I like that you're here. It's fine with me, you know. You helped me through New Vegas, and I appreciate that. Sometimes I wonder why you're here, but I don't begrudge it at all. You seem like a perfectly nice guy. But what it's frustrating. How combative you are immediately. You don't know what I think racism is. It seems like, I don't know. It just seems to me that if you've got questions about how I define racism, the right thing to do would be to just ask. you know. For the record, I take the just a pretty basic sort of colloquial approach to racism, including academic racism, like racism as defined by academia. That racism is when you believe that one ethnicity is just inherently better or worse than other ethnicities. Like, that's not that complicated. That some ethnicities are more capable, more competent, smarter, prettier, more morally correct, just through virtue of their, like, their identitarian and physical characteristics. That's racism. I mean, and Charlie Kirk was that. Like, nobody, there's no racist in the world, like, who thinks that their racism is arbitrary. Every racist thinks they have a good reason for being racist. Racist doesn't necessarily entail flaming crosses, yeah. No. Being against race mixing is definitely racist. Yup. So you're gonna be pedantic and say, oh, well, racism is when you think one is better than the other only. No, I don't think that has to be only. Pretty sure Boy Hampton was literally saying, I hate white people a couple streams ago. It doesn't count though, right? What do you mean? Of course it counts. What are you talking about? It's gonna be the day crab grows some and tells us their views are just more ballet. Who knows? Dude, Ezra Klein. Ugh, I know. Society is not strictly better when the nuclear family was around. I can think of many things that Sanguine got cut off looks like. But yeah, the nuclear family is like it's. I mean, again, like, Charlie Kirk lied and manipulated and used all sorts of logical fallacies and research fallacies and methodological fallacies on the regular. Most of what he said, most of the things that he insisted were the case, were just made the fuck up. The nuclear family? The nuclear family is a pretty new invention. The idea that people just like live with a mommy and a daddy and 2.5 babies and in a single family home. Do you understand the royal you? Do you understand how new that is? That is not how family units have been set up most of the time over most of human history. Also hate to be that guy. He celebrated political violence multiple times. You're welcome to ask me about my views. Be as specific as possible. I'm an open book. I have in the past though, and you just get mad about it. You know. Because I ask things that seem to be more specific than you'd like. So, you know, it doesn't really seem like you are an open book. I don't know. Cannot monopolize legitimate violence and then claim a consensus-based governance. Yeah. Bars, Josie. Woo. Woo woo. Palantir is a metaphor for Fox News. I think the Palantiri are much more apt metaphors for the internet. It's just fine, true. Denethor didn't really join Sauron. You got me. Watching a friend stream one time, he had, no joke, 47 tabs open. Let's see. On this computer, I've got probably about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've definitely got more than 47 tabs open. Twitter is the Palantir. Yeah. Sorry, I was catching up with the chat. Here because I don't hate people that have opposing views to mine. I appreciate discourse, particularly regarding views that are so contrary to my own. I think that's great. Good for you, you know. It's rough because it's like I don't think that there's the thing about streaming is that like it's this weird. Okay, I'm just gonna like scroll through these comments since you're burning low. If everything turns out alright for... Oh, yeah. No, I'll be fine. It's just, like, a huge bummer to, like... it was just a huge bummer of a week and kind of draining. And good things happened, like, real big highs and serious lows. And this is the first time that I've ever felt like the possibility of having to leave the country even for a little bit was a reality. And if I have to do that even for a little bit, like, what a bummer, you know? I mean, it's a privilege for this to be the first time that I've ever felt like sort of potentially unsafe in my own country, but still, you know. Yep, you're already loading the conversation with bad faith by implying that the opposite view havers do inherently hate you just because of your views. Yeah, I'm not. I think personally, like, I think I'm. I give people the benefit of the doubt all the time. I'm choosing to read crap, you know, I clocked that too, but, I decided to be generous with it. not that you should, Sanguine. I'm not necessarily sure that, that you should. I'm not making an argument for anything, but, it's like, I don't know if there's a better way to do any kind of online communication, just because like I mean, especially for something like streaming, it's like this is just such a weird dynamic. It's a really strange media dynamic, because it's like, hey, it's me, it's the me show, and that's already weird. But like YouTube is the me show. This is something different. This is like man, I don't know, I'm not even sure what to call it, but like the thing that because I don't think there's any other corollary in the history of communications, and the thing that makes streaming different from YouTube, other than just like framing and scripting and editing and all the stuff that you know, makes this aesthetically a different experience from a video I would make, is that the chat is here and I'm interacting with the chat, and everybody in the chat is like part of the me show. Like, you all are part of this performance, to the extent that this is a performance. And that, like, that positionality, I think, puts downward pressure on anybody expressing a certain degree of vulnerability. People don't change their minds because they watch a Twitch stream, you know, because they watch a YouTube video. Like, like they might, but it's like the moment when your mind starts to change is always personal. It's always intimate. It's, you know, always something that you like you might hear something online or whatever, but the way your mind changes is you associate it with something you have encountered in your own life. This is why the you know, if you actually do argue somebody out of a position or into another position that's like so completely counter to what they've assumed in the past, it's going to be in person. It's not going to be in, you know, not even fucking Twitch or YouTube for that matter. So but I don't know, maybe it is, but if it is, then I think you have to approach, I think that can only be the case if everybody's approaching something like Twitch or YouTube or whatever, the internet, the social media, in a super expansive, super media literate, and super almost disembodied way. Because like the problem with the internet is that it makes you feel like the fucking main character of reality, and you're not ever the main character of reality. So like, in order to enjoy the internet, that's kind of the attitude you have to have. But in order to change your mind, or in order to use the internet as like an actual source of information that is as objective as it's going to be, then you can't also be having fun with it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that's a great quote. We need to have a Nuremberg style trial for every gender affirming clinic doctor. We need it immediately. Like, come on. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Grace. Yeah, this is words. It's words day. Even words are going to be hard to do. While there's also a chat happening here. Hi, Real New Deal. Hey, it's been a minute. Yeah. Aw. Happy birthday, Carlos. 25. Nuclear family was invented to divide communities and make people easier to dominate. Maybe there's a lot of benefits to nuclear family. One is that everybody has to buy shit. Everybody has to buy copies of the same shit instead of sharing it. That's the big one for the economy. That's why everybody has to be shoved out of their house. So, you know, either you're approaching the nuclear family from one direction or you're approaching it from the other direction. Either way, this sort of like you know, oh, the nuclear family is the basis for all of civilization is utter nonsense. Like, that is a smokescreen for whatever the nuclear family is doing for either the economy, like the financial economy, or the political economy of whatever that that society is following. Was there ever a time when pointing out someone's hypocrisy made them change their mind? I think all of this is conditional. Not online. Certainly not online. Did someone threaten you online or in person? Jesse, who are you talking to? Me? Nobody's threatened me. Just the federal government. Mariana needs a vape. It doesn't help, believe me. You know, one time, crab with a knife, me and my dad got pulled over for driving while Mexican. And I know it was for driving while Mexican because he pulled us over for speeding. We were going 5 over and there were people passing us. And I'm pretty sure he thought that, like, I was, I don't know, we were going for a college visit. And the cop pulled us over. And he told us it was for speeding, but he took my dad out of the car and put him in the cop car while he ran his information. And, like, you know, asked him if he had any drugs in the car and asked him if he had any weapons in the car. And my dad was like, I'm a fucking university professor. What do you think? And he came over and like, interrogated me about where we were going and how long we were going to be there and why we were going and whether, like, is this your dad? Is this, you know, this and that. I think he thought I was being trafficked or something. Because my dad's skin is a lot darker than mine. And let's go. With a warning to not go 5 over, I guess. Whatever. It's the law. That's not the first time that's happened to my dad, you know. And it's like, do you understand how repeated instances of that kind of treatment, especially watching repeated instances of that kind of treatment to a family member when you get no such treatment? I've never been treated that way by the police. Do you understand how that might inform your perception of the cops toward a certain direction, you know? Advertising always pauses itself as a culture. Absolutely. Cigarette, soda, cars, all lifestyle choice. Yeah. Yeah. Define your personality and advertise your personality and your identity to everybody through the shit that you buy. Oh yeah. Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Snowhound. We might get to it. We'll see. We'll see. Will main character syndrome being the downfall of society? Look around you, Camden. What do you think? Why do I live in Texas? Because my partner is a gunsmith, and it's a lot easier to do that in California it's a lot harder to do that in California than it is in Texas. I have family in Texas. I was born in Texas. I can live in Texas. I got a tattoo in Elvish and a standing invite to go get a PhD in Tolkien studies. Oh shit. Always down to talk LOTR. Things get better. Thanks. They will. They always get better eventually. I did know that about Vigo. He's like one of the coolest people alive. He's legit one of the coolest people alive. All the horsemanship he does in Hidalgo, pretty fire movie by the way. That's all him. Because he grew up on a fucking horse ranch in Argentina. He's so cool. Yeah, growing up Mexican in Oklahoma is what's a trip. Showed my roommate your Final Destination vid. She's a fan now. Hooray! That's nice. Yeah, gunsmith. Neil, tell me what it is. Do you think it's... Man, see, this is what I like. This is what I mean, grab with a knife. Why would I think that? Why would you think that I think that? Why would I think that every bad thing that happens to you happens because I'm Mexican? Is that what I said? No, it's not what I said. What I said was that watching how authority figures treat my father and watching how they don't treat me the same way makes you think a certain way about how authority figures conceptualize darker skin tones and accents. That's what I said. Like, this is what I mean, dude. Like, and it's like, man, it bums me out, you know, like, it's frustrating to feel like you are, it's frustrating for one to feel as if, kind of all they are in a conversation is just like an opportunity for your like interlocutor to air a grievance, you know? That's not what I said. Why are you responding to something to what it sounds like you wish I had said? I don't understand it. Tolkien was a professor of English Lit at Merton College, Oxford. Chris Christopherson began studying English Lit at Merton College, so it's possibly attended a lecture by Tolkien. Yeah, Vigo was a last minute hire. You can still see the man. what a trip for that original actor, you know? You can still see him in the background in some of the making of documentary shots. Do you think politicians shifted their attention to inflating civil conflicts because they realized they couldn't beef with other first world countries without blowing up the earth? I mean, I do think that what's happening right now is basically just internal colonization. Does that count? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, Grab, do you think everything bad that happened to you happened because of your skin tone? I don't know, maybe you're not one of those people who thinks that the world has it out for white guys these days, but I don't know. I'd be a little bit surprised if you weren't. Oh, internal colonization. Yeah, I did come up with that. No big deal. But I certainly am not the first person to describe it that way. You know. He got pulled over for speeding. He technically was. It does seem to me that, I mean, if nothing else had happened, and he's got pulled over for speeding, got given a warning or whatever, then I maybe would have, you know, whatever. People get pulled over for speeding all the time. It's not that he got pulled over for speeding just, you know, because there were a bunch of people passing us and why didn't they get pulled over for speeding? It's that he didn't treat my dad like he was pulling him over for speeding. He treated my dad like he was pulling him over for suspicion. He took my dad out of his car and put him in the cop car while he ran his information. That doesn't happen. Like, have you ever gotten pulled over by the cops? Have they ever taken you out of the car and made you sit in the cop car with them while they ran your information? It's a weird fucking thing to do. Interrogating me about where we're going and why? Who the fuck cares? Has nothing to do with whether we're speeding or not. That's what I'm talking about. You know? The sun has it out for us white guys, no doubt about that. So I can't get that Charlie Kirk vid out of my head. It was, man. Woof. Pretty traumatic, you know. I mean, like, of the things that whatever. I don't know if it's just because like I'm I'm female and I'm female, certainly female presenting, and it irritates me when people assume that that must mean I'm squeamish or have a weak stomach. So maybe that's why I'm saying this, but like the video didn't you know, alone freak me out that much. I've seen worse, you know. But I think most people aren't like horror scholars who visit the Museum of Death on the weekends, so I worry about how seeing that kind of thing is going to affect people in the long term. It's even a term that cops use when they try and give any minor excuses to pull people over, like fishing. Ugh, wish Morbid Man was here. I'm sure you could tell me. Like, I'm not unfamiliar with policing practices, you know? Morbid Man's from a cop family. His dad is he just retired. His dad was a LAPD vice detective, you know? Like, I don't have any, like, I think that certainly among leftists, I've got at least a, I don't know, I flatter myself that I have at least a little bit of an understanding of what cops do and don't do. And they absolutely racially profile. It's not even a controversy. It's not a... Cops will tell you. Can I see it from the cop's perspective, why he might have been suspicious? No. I do not. I cannot see it from the cop's perspective. I do not think it was a suspicious situation. No. Yeah, some cops are just shitty. And, like, I mean, like, again, this is, like, kind of the frustration of talking about any of this stuff on any social media platform, including streaming, that, like, all of you can see my face, but I can see none of your faces. That's deeply irritating to me. So that's one thing, but also just, like, because of the whole, like, performance dynamic that I was talking about before, fuck, what was I saying? It's like, I think, I mean, really it is just a sort of restatement of what I had said before. I think that, oh my God, I have such brain fog, dude. All of this is better said in person, because I think that most people want the same things, you know? Most people aren't insane. Most people want to live a peaceful life. There's this that part of the argument that I'm making in this Gollum video is that Gollum is, okay, so the ring, right? The ring, what does it do? It amplifies power. Whatever power, whatever potential you have in you, it gives you the ability to pursue that potential and force everybody else into whatever lane you're driving in, right? The reason hobbits can hold the ring, and the reason Frodo is able to carry it, and Bilbo and Gollum, is because hobbits don't really have any potential. Hobbits are not powerful. They are not ambitious. They don't want anything. And it's really, really hard for the ring to corrupt somebody who's already satisfied, already content. And it'll do it. It'll do it over a long, long time. But it does take a long time, right? What was the point of saying that? This fucking brain fog, you know? Oh yeah, and what I think a lot of people miss about The Lord of the Rings and the story it's telling is that, by and large, none of us are Gandalf. None of us are Aragorn. None of us are Galadriel. None of us are people with a whole lot of power or potential. I'm sorry. Most of us want to live peaceful lives and go about our business and do what we want and be helpful to whatever extent we're capable of being to each other. That's what most of us want. Most of us don't want a whole lot more than that. If we do want something more than that, it's usually not that much more. You know, Bilbo and Frodo being Tookish are adventurous hobbits, and the other hobbits kind of look down on them for this. But even so, Bilbo and Frodo, they want to travel, they want to see shit, whatever, but they want to come home at the end of the day, and they eventually want to retire, and they eventually, like, they don't want to do anything that the ring can help them with, you know. And I think that it serves everybody's conversational quality to recognize that to the extent that the world, to the extent that the Lord of the Rings reflects the conditions of the world, you are not an elf or a wizard or whatever. Like, you're a hobbit. You're a hobbit. And you need to speak to each other as hobbits do. Instead of put on all these airs about how important you are and how much you know and how much, like, just speak to each other like people, you know? Not that I'm saying anybody here is like specifically doing that in this particular chat or whatever. But I think that's the best way to talk to people, no matter what. What's this channel about? Hi, Frank. I'm a communications and horror scholar. This is my streaming channel. I think I've got my main channel linked at the bottom of it, but if I don't, it's called The Morbid Zoo. So if you're interested, you can go look there. Do I worry about how the video will affect people? Do you mean the Kirk video in particular, or just the general prevalence of violent videos on the internet? I do kind of mean the general prevalence of violent videos, but the Kirk video in particular, because it spreads so fast and made it around so many content moderation moderation devices, and so many people saw it. And I think it, like, the importance of that particular assassination, I think, is like really, really revealed how quickly that kind of super traumatic imagery can spread that we just haven't had to deal with in this country, because the kinds of violent imagery that tends to appear online are people you would expect that to happen to. You know what I mean? This is different. Oh shit! I forgot that this is still under the New Vegas tab. I'm so sorry. I gotta go to Twitch and tell people I'm just chatting. Oops.
You know you wanna.
Oh, shut up.
Make it nice.
This is 9855. Where? Let's see. Fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. Edit, there we go. Category, there we go. Just chatting. There. Sorry, Allie been here. The brutality part of American training or the profiling too. You know, y'all have really shitty cop education. Well, cops are trained to defend their own lives above all else. Cops do not have a legal obligation to protect you. They certainly do not have a legal obligation to put themselves in danger to protect you. Which I think is a problem. I think that if you sign up for I think that the process for signing up for law enforcement should be very much like the process for becoming like U.S. Special Forces. You know, like, yeah, if you become a cop, sorry, you gotta accept the fact that your life's gonna be in danger. And it seems like that standard has been just sort of decreasing and decreasing and decreasing over the past couple decades. That's a huge issue that I have with policing. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. Being a light-skinned daughter of a dark-skinned father and having that be an interruption to your life is what people are talking about when they talk about, like, systemic racism. Do you know what I mean? When people use that phrase, the systemic part is there to indicate that the people who engage in that kind of racism aren't doing it on purpose as such, that they think there's a good reason for it. And systemically, there may be some excuse for that being the case. But the fact of the matter is that it is not suspicious for someone who's light-skinned to have family members who are dark-skinned. I look like my dad. I mean, my face looks like his face. My hair is dark like his is. I have his eyes. I have most of his face. I look like my dad. It should not, and in other countries where there's a lot of, you know, ethnic mixing, that's not a suspicious thing. So it's like, I mean, people get all fucking butthurt and triggered when you talk about systemic racism, and this is all that's meant by. Nobody has to be fucking mad about it. We're literally saying it's not your fault. You know what I mean? Hampton, don't bully Mr. H. He's a nice guy. Damn. Sorry, I'm a little behind. My understanding is it's not clear whether that trans person he lived with was actually his partner. It's weird, man. It's not at all clear, and most of this isn't clear. Nobody knows anything. I'm sure somebody knows something, but I don't put a whole lot of stake in the competence of this FBI, and I don't put a lot of stake in the idea that what they're saying is necessarily the truth. Unfortunately, I wish I could say different. Genuinely, I do. because it makes me sound like a fucking conspiracy nutcase. But like immediately they used it as an excuse to attack the radical left when we didn't know fuck about anything, you know. So like, I mean, they have every incentive to use this situation to their political advantage. The administration does, and the trajectory of their behavior since January would suggest that that is what they will do. So, you know. Queen, I just won 100% on Fallout New Vegas. You know, when I started New Vegas on stream, I did think I was gonna go for 100%. I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm on part 29. It's not gonna happen. But yeah, I usually do play the game. Yeah. Nobody here is Aragorn except LSR 4242. Part of the bittersweet ending is Frodo not being able to feel at home in the Shire, which is the difference between him and Gollum. Frodo fails the mission. His failure is, his moral failure is as big as Gollum's. Gollum can't forgive himself for murdering Deagle. But Frodo chooses to forgive himself. Chooses to accept that God still loves him, if you will. And that's the difference between Gollum and Frodo. It's very tragic, yeah. Yeah, forgetting the taste of bread. Oh. Oh, the movies are so well written. We're not even dwarves. A couple of us might be dwarves. I'm definitely a hobbit, but I think Morbid Man might be a dwarf. Hampton, don't be fucking rude. Stop. God, this is why I need to stop getting so behind on the chat. Josie, you gotta read Lord of the Rings, or at least watch it. I know you said you were gonna. So have a good day, twin. Don't stress on too much philosophy. Take over New Vegas, gang. Happy you're here, if you are indeed still here. Good job bringing Lord of the Rings into lesson for us. You're welcome, I guess. Thanks. Yeah, maybe I'll do this more often. I don't know. I thought it's been an hour and a half, and I've certainly done no research. I just want to look at the chat so bad, you know. Damn, worst New Vegas stream yet. Hi, Kyle. I could swear I took the ads off Twitch. Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo. LTR is the foundation for some of my longest lasting friendships. Oh, I think it's Lord of the Rings is no shit the most important text of the 20th century. It encompasses all the anxieties and all the things we learned from the 2 world wars, and is extremely prescient for the for the century that would follow. I always thought that systemic racism was more that there are laws set up that create racist outcomes regardless of if the stakeholders of said systems even hold prejudices themselves, i.e. redlining. Sure, laws, but cultures as well. No? This is why we have the assumption that somebody driving a shitty car is more likely to have committed a crime than somebody driving a nice car. Or even certain kinds of cars. Maybe your car's really nice, but it's too flashy, you know? Maybe trained to be lawyers with the authority of executing lethal force when the situation warrants it. But I feel if police knew more about the law they're supposed to be enforcing, it would lead to less instances of cops being assholes. I agree, yes. If we had study cops, it'd be better. It's not good to lower the standard for who gets to be a cop, you know? Any cop should have, like, the basics of, I mean, you know, yeah, I think, probably should just have law degrees, you know? If you're enforcing the law, you better fucking know the law. And I think that itself should be enforced, you know? Oops. I think Fallout 5 is going to be trash. I'm going to say no. I don't think it is going to be trash. I think it's going to be very fun, and it will replace Fallout 4 as my comfort game. It's a bit difficult to get hemmed up. Interesting phrasing. For dealing drugs, we aren't actually dealing drugs. No, it's not. People get picked up for dealing drugs all the time who haven't dealt drugs. If you simply live in a house with somebody who's dealing drugs and they get caught, there's a high likelihood that you'll get arrested and charged. Can you see how that might be a problem if, you know, if you're like super poor and you're, I don't know, you're living with your stepfather, your stepfather's dealing drugs, and like you're trying to get out, but there's this period of time where you can't, and you have to live with this person, and then they get picked up for drugs, and now look at that, you are too. This is not that's not an extreme hypothetical at all, you know. Some YouTubers stream themselves editing, which is a good way to chat while getting work done. Yeah, it's a good idea. I don't think Crab with a Knife knows what redlining is. That's my take on what he said. Michael Pater. Are you new? I don't believe I've seen you here before, but I could be wrong. I have a famously shit memory, so forgive me if you're not in fact new here. The Elf of Palermo. Cute. No, I'm not saying lauder. No. I reject that. Trust me, I went to school with a lot of suburban kids. They did a lot of drugs and dealt them too. That's the other side of this. The people who get picked up for either using or selling is not the same demographic as the people who actually use drugs. There's crossover, obviously, but they're not the same in any way. A friend of mine kept calling me Ellie in streams, and I really liked it after Ben just went with Ellie. Oh! That makes so much sense. And plenty that got arrested as well. Yeah. Did they get the same sentences as other people of perhaps different racial or socioeconomic backgrounds that got arrested for the same thing? Maybe they did, but statistics are quite clear that that there is a differential between those two demographics. We here believe in police abolition, right? We talked about this a little bit a few streams ago, no? I don't know. People are going to have to be very specific about what they mean by police abolition. I'd love it if police didn't have to exist, but I can't imagine and know of no society where there is not some kind of law enforcement or enforcement of norm that is frequently accomplished through violent coercion. My favorite genre of video is a person who knows the law better than a cop arresting them. Me too. It's a great genre. You think about the high standards for becoming an ICE agent. Damn, they're fucking scraping the bottom of the barrel. And that's a really bad thing because it means that, because ICE is increasingly unpopular. It's increasingly thinly spread. So they have to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Not enough people are signing up to be ICE agents. This is a real fucking problem. And I worry a lot about it. It keeps me up at night because the lower your standards get, the more likely you're gonna employ people that make either fucking stupid mistakes or just straight up crimes. And then this like weird cold civil war we're in, just that's how it turns into a hot civil war. You know? That's how it happens. Oh, I didn't realize The Long Walk was out yet. No, I have not seen it. I would like to, though. So maybe I'll see it this week. Oh. I was going to say maybe I'll see it tomorrow, but I'm talking to Vosh tomorrow. Right? Today's Monday. Yeah. Yeah, talking to Vosh tomorrow for the dissertation, so that'll be interesting. If anybody's got some questions that I should ask Vosh about streaming, about a leftist organization, what he thinks about it. I myself am not a Vosh watcher, but there may be some here. I don't know. I know redlining is not the mid 20th century anymore, but yeah, but you understand that redlining created the world that we live in now, right? Like, just because redlining is no longer practiced anymore doesn't mean that its effects aren't. You understand that, right? That is the point of redlining. The point of redlining was to further entrench segregation, and it achieved that very, very effectively. Yep. Do you think that property values are low because of racism or because the neighborhoods are poorly maintained and crime ridden? Who do you think maintains these places? It's all the same state. It's the same cities. It's both. This is a feedback loop. The property values are low because the neighborhoods are poorly maintained and crime ridden because of racism, because they're poorly maintained and crime ridden, because of racism, because they're poorly maintained and crime ridden. This systemic, if you will, All the lolly stuff is weird. Oh yeah, don't get me started. First of all, how dare you? I'm interviewing him. Yeah, it's not gonna be a live thing. Y'all see it. Bye, Ellie. You all might see. I don't know. He hasn't signed his release form yet, but y'all might see like clips of it in the final dissertation product. But it's not. I'm not gonna post it anywhere. Oh yeah, Color of Law is a great book. Really good book. Anybody who would like to know more about redlining, go read The Color of Law. Do you believe A or B? Because it can't be both. Yeah. Why is my tongue blue? My tongue's not blue. Oh, bye, Mr. H. You know, one of the things that I did want to do was, let's see, 7:42. Yeah, I can spend the next 20 minutes. For the, this has nothing to do with the Gollum video, but for the Ring video, because I'm kind of trying to write them both at once, I want to spend no small amount of time looking for reading Color of Law now. Lovely. Getting any research done now. No, this is what I could never study with friends either. I have to study in a super busy cafe or alone in my room, and no in between. New Jim Crow is also good, yes. I did catch up with the chat. I wish I had all my redlining facts and, you know, easy recall. Somebody asked me what last time what intellectual superpower I would choose if I could, and just better recall, you know, is what I'd like. This is what I was gonna say, but I didn't particularly get into it. No, the city does a large amount of neighborhood maintenance. Do you not know that, Crab with a Knife? Do you not know that the city is in charge of landscaping and road work? And that many people in these places don't own their homes. So no, they don't actually do the maintenance on it. It's not their responsibility because it's not their house. Fuck's sake. And then that gets entrenched as a sort of, as a matter of the culture of the area. Nobody's incentivized to do anything different. Oh, it just stays the same. It's not hard to understand. Oh yeah, Professor Flowers. Yeah, I may bring up some of the drama, you know. I think we'll have Nuremberg Trials sequel. Man, I hope so. It's the only outcome of the political situation that I would be satisfied with. Oh, what's Ecosia? Oh, it's like yeah, I'm sure it's total bullshit. But it helps assuage my doomerism. It's a Google replacement that plants trees. I don't know. My tongue is actually blue. I believe you. In Michigan, if you live somewhere, you maintain it. No. If my, the steps up to my porch are fucking broken. They've got dry rot, right? I don't fix that. That's not in my contract. We're in charge of the lawn, maybe. And we're in charge of paying bills. Like what kind of bonkers ass landlord do you have? And what kind of what kind of landlord do you have that and what kind of person are you to be so swindled by this landlord who's told you that maintaining everything about your house is your responsibility? If something's broken on your house, it's your landlord's responsibility to fix it. That's standard everywhere. Are you serious? Do you put your hands inside of your sleeves? I do not, no. Okay, anyway, one of the things that I wanted to do was gather examples of people, oligarchs, really, right-wing fucking ghouls, rich people who fancy themselves the masters of certainly the country and maybe the universe, explicitly misunderstanding the Lord of the Rings. So let us do that. I know there's Michiko Kakutani talked about this. Michiko Kakutani. Where are the rings? I'll pull up that. Yeah, there we go. Why Silicon Valley's most powerful people are so obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Let's start there. Beep, beep, boop. Oh. Nobody pay attention. Oops. Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Do, 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 do. Who's your favorite VTuber? Okay, so I'm not entirely like altogether certain what a VTuber is. It's just a YouTuber who doesn't show their face, right? I mean, I don't. I watch a fair amount of YouTube, but like my repertoire is fairly small. If that is indeed what a VTuber is, then I suppose, and it's not to flatter him because he's my pal, he's a friend of mine, but Tail Foundry, I think. He's great. Who's your favorite non-main character Hobbit? Oh, it's got to be Farmer Maggot, right? Telling the Nazgul to fuck off in the book. Yeah, the landlord is responsible for repairs and not disputing that. So then what roadblock is it in your mind that is leading you to not understand why people who rent in bad neighborhoods have bad housing? I hate how many right-wing LTR fans there are, I know. YouTuber is a streamer who has a 3D model to represent themselves. Okay, so then Tail Foundry doesn't count, huh? I don't know. I don't have a favorite VTuber then. That's some that's some Zoomer shit. I'm of an older generation of YouTube. It's basic fantasy, it's pure good versus evil. So anyone can picture them being the good culture destroying the evil culture. That's for certain, yeah. But it's also, it super sucks too because like, like Lord of the Rings is not that basic. It's actually quite complicated. Its cosmology and its metaphysics is really, really complex. And it doesn't just boil down to pure good versus evil, in fact. And it's just that like the trappings of Lord of the Rings have been the aesthetics and the sort of tropes have been lifted and grafted onto all this other stuff. Like it really, like, he kind of defined the fantasy genre in that way, you know, and so much of that is so binary and straightforward, good versus evil and whatever, that I think like that I think people just sort of intuitively assume that that's what Lord of the Rings must be and interpret it that way. It's kind of the same thing with like, if any of you listen to my podcast, which you should, by the way, it's quite good. And we posted a new episode a few days ago. And there will be another one next week. It's the same problem I have with like people's assumption of what a Disney princess is really, really affects their preconceived ideas of Snow White. Snow White is not really a Disney princess in the tradition that would later be established by things like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. Snow White is something different altogether, and people won't give it credit for that because they like blame Snow White for everything that followed, and it's not fair. It's not fair. Are elves meant to represent like the intellectual class of Middle Earth? Elves are meant to represent the like humanity at its having fulfilled its finest potential. That's what elves are supposed to be. Human beings, like the entirety of Lord of the Rings is sort of structured to present all of the beings that live within that world are all supposed to be aspects of the human condition, you know, and the potential for human creation specifically, and the parts of our character that either help or hinder our ability to create and self-actualize, you know. Elves are self-actualized beings. Men are kind of the opposite of self-actualized beings. Dwarves are something else. Dwarves are the only being that, in my opinion, and I talk about this in my Ents video, dwarves are the only ones that I think can be read as like racially coded in a sort of troubling way. Though I do love dwarves. They're great. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Oh my god. Demorbid man, he home, I think. Okay, give me some links here, Kakutani. Jason Horowitz has chronicled how to some right-wing politician Jay, learning about nostalgia, but it's like it's a tech bro thing though. It's such a tech bro thing. It's such a they fetishize Lord of the Rings so much, you know. It's just a and I think that really is sort of reflective of their of the sort of tech bro will to dominate, you know, kind of like Sauron-esque will to dominate, that they don't think of Lord of the Rings as a story for us to learn from. They think of Lord of the Rings as a fetish to collect and put on the shelf, to prove how literate they are and how, you know, what thinking men and also what nerds they are. It's a nerd signal, you know. Whether Lord of the Rings glorifies war or not, I said, I said in my first video, and I'll say again in the last one, that Mordor has a higher GDP than Rivendell, so it's better. Did you also see that reel on Instagram today? Does Lord of the Rings glorify war? I said in the first video, and I will say again in the video about the ring, that that Lord of the Rings is my favorite war movie. I think it's the best war movie. Lord of the Rings, that's a good way to describe it. Lord of the Rings glorifies the telos of victory. It is more anti-war than anti-war films. Yes, because Lord of the Rings, unlike war films, is approaching war as a what if all depictions of war glorify war? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that I think Faramir sums it up well. That thing that Faramir says about, like, I do not love the sword for its really whatever. That's what the elf choir is singing behind Boromir's death. It's so sad. Lord of the Rings is abstracting the values that we put into war, that we project onto war when we engage in it in real life, which Tolkien was, like, obviously hyper aware of, because he was a World War veteran and saw World War II happen. His son fought in World War II, I'm pretty sure. And also, like, he was a professor during the Blitz and whatever. Fuck. And like, I don't think it's accurate to say that Lord of the Rings glorifies war just because it won't say that war is a categorically bad thing, because war is not a categorically bad thing. The things that the argument that Lord of the Rings is making is that there are things worth protecting in this world, and those things aren't, like, though the Lord of the Rings is itself an abstractified story, the things that are worth protecting through violent defense are not abstract at all. And counter to what the fucking, right-wing fucking nutcases, these, like, stupid little babies who watch these movies, read these books, and try and identify with with it in that way, that, like, oh, we're defending Western civilization, the men of the West, where, like, they take it so literally. That's not what the Lord of the Rings is saying. The Lord of the Rings is not saying that you need to protect civilization. The Lord of the Rings is saying that you need to protect freedom. And freedom, as I've one of my constant gripes that I've described in streams before, about the way that America is approaching its own sort of, like, epistemological health, its own metaphysics right now, is that we don't know what freedom is for. We fucking forgot. We tossed off a king because he didn't like that he was telling us what to do. And then a couple hundred years later, we forgot why we did that. And the reason freedom is good, the reason what defines the free people of Middle Earth compared to the orcs, or not the free people of Middle Earth, they are people of Middle Earth, but they're not free, they're slaves, is the defense of a simple life. That's literally the only argument that Lord of the Rings is making at the end of the day, is that the only life, the only thing, the only aspect of existence worth protecting is the ability of existence itself to remain whole and grow on its own. And that if you allow things to do that, if you allow people to do that, then what they will do is pursue simplicity, barring the intrusion of some kind of corrupting force. And that corrupting force is always power and the will to dominate. Again, direct quote from the movies and the books, very beginning of the movies. That's what fucks shit up. The idea that you are destined for more, and that, you're really better than everybody else at your core. And people should really only pay attention to what you think and what you, and if everybody would just, like, do what you say, then things would be great and nobody would have to worry. These are the, like, that is the attitude of every single bad person in Lord of the Rings. That's why it's not like, this is, again, the difference between Manichaean and Boethian evil. Manichaean evil presents evil and good as sort of like the kind of, like, modern Protestant American Christian idea of God and Satan. That's Manichaean evil. Two different agentic beings who are kind of equally powerful and separate from each other. They each have their own ethic. They each have their own, like, their own complete being. Boethian evil is Tolkien's evil. Boethian evil is is an evil that is constructed by taking something that was once good and removing something from it. And this is why it is fine and possible for the good, to imagine what it's like to be evil and avoid it. This is why every time somebody powerful, and it happens all the time in that series, is confronted with the ring, there's always this like conflict within them, that they have to do this internal battle that like and I love how Peter Jackson visualizes that in the Fellowship of the Ring with Galadriel, and how she changes, and you know, and in place of a Dark Lord you'd have a queen, and you know, not dark but beautiful and terrible as the dawn, and he watches her do this thing and be kind of tempted by it. It happens to Gandalf, it happens to Galadriel, it happens to Aragorn, just in the Fellowship on its own. And the conclusion of that is that they refuse to even touch it. They won't even touch it, because they know what they're in for if they allow themselves to even entertain the idea of that kind of power being something that they deserve to have. Compared with somebody like Boromir, to say nothing of Denethor, you know, like Faramir successfully does this too, but like, and like Boromir never touches it. I don't think he holds it on the on the chain in the movies. I don't know if he touches it in the book either, but he tries. He really tries because he thinks he can. He thinks he can, and that's his, like, you know, first and most important character flaw, is that he considers himself like uniquely capable of wielding this thing that all of these other more powerful, wiser, older, more magical beings know that they can't fucking handle. Anyway. I think Tech Bro's performative interest in Lord of the Rings is definitely tied to the Big Bang Theory. They think that by liking Lord of the Rings, their nerd interest makes them similar to Sheldon Cooper. Yeah, absolutely. If they fancy themselves misunderstood geniuses with interest too refined for the general populace. Yes, exactly. So I'm interested in, like, I'm doing a little bit of research on how that attitude came to be, because it's like the corollary is super interesting, because like at the same time as Lord of the Rings is becoming really, really popular in certain tech circles during the 60s and 70s, that's the same time when things like fantasy were becoming very unfashionable to humanities, right? Like the sort of like the upper class literati, the English professors of the 60s and 70s did not think that Lord of the Rings should be taken seriously. Like some did, but it was not a fashionable opinion to have. That didn't come until like the late 80s. And there's a reason for that. It like people, it was post World War II. People wanted like really realistic, sort of like visceral, I don't know, other synonyms for like this like clarity of vision toward the human condition, you know. Oh, good night, Black Bag. You're probably already gone. And so Lord of the Rings did, and any kind of fantasy, they didn't really see the use in that artistically, which is obviously short-sighted and silly. But it wasn't arbitrary, certainly. But I think that there's like Lord of the Rings, it's not difficult to interpret what is supposed to be coded good and what is supposed to be coded bad, and what you're supposed to take away from that story at all. You know, it's not a it's not a story, I argue, that allows for, you know, for just like evil people to come in and just and have as much claim to that story as people with halfway decent morals, you know. It's like anybody who claims, Like people like Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, Peter Thiel, people who like claim that Lord of the Rings is super important to them. It fucking isn't. They've never fucking read it, you know? Be right back. People like that might be able to tell you every shred of trivia from that series. Doesn't matter. They've still never read it. You know? Yeah, Sauron had an unquestionable will. Saruman had an unquestionable will. Gollum had an unquestionable will. But the heroes had a council. Yeah. I'm curious if the creation of the Tech Bro CEO could partially be the result of burgeoning technology. Oh, I'd say that's 100% the case. Yes, absolutely. Does the economic benefit and unknown consequences make legislation slow to act? Yeah, well, if you have a, if your government is built off collusion with the business class, then yes, absolutely. That will almost certainly be the case. And you absolutely could. Oh my God, Michael, you're just, you're just, teeing these up for me. You must draw ties to the robber barons of the Gilded Age. This is a new Gilded Age. That is, I think, the proper way to understand what's happening right now. Yeah, he holds the chains as such a small thing. Strange thing that we should suffer so much fear and doubt over such a small thing. Such a little thing. Holy shit. That might be the best compliment anybody's ever paid me. I have to say, talking about Lord of the Rings the way you are is what I got out of Jordan Peterson when I was depressed. Fuck yeah. My pain is greatest. The ego of unquestionable pain. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Hampton has a hot take. Lay it on me, Hampton. What's your hot take? Hi, Smaller. You oofs. Big oof. Oof with woofs. Yeah. My dad, fun fact, loves Sheldon. It's so uncharacteristic. He's seen every episode of Young Sheldon at least twice. There's their miniature son on my floor. It's because I've been busy and depressed and still haven't moved into my office properly since I moved here. Dogs are discussing Rings of Power. Yeah, loving a series that's so easy to read as anti-technology, anti-industry, at the very least very critical of industrialism. Oh, it's like very explicit about that, which is why I think that like the sort of tech bro adoption of it is kind of literally evil in a very Sauron-esque way, you know? Like you're taking something that isn't for you, is explicitly not for you, and claiming it's yours. I hate it. Oh my God, I hate it. I really hate it. William, you not a Lord of the Rings guy? I bet I can convince you otherwise. The tendency authors have to write morally ambiguous stories is what makes a story a bad story, for it is their stance on something that makes writing about it good. Authors stop pussyfooting around and declare you're right, regardless of whether or not you truly are. I agree, I think. Well, okay, so be right back. One second. I bought a bunch of new horror books at the con this weekend, and I was gonna go grab a story that I read yesterday from one of them to bolster or perhaps challenge Hampton or perhaps clarify Hampton's point, but I don't know if it's in the car or God, I hope I didn't leave it wherever no, I couldn't, no way. It's definitely in the car, I hope. Horror stories are often morally ambiguous. So I don't think it's the moral ambiguity that that is what you're recognizing. I think it's something else that I'm not quite certain how to describe. No, I'm fairly sure it's the pelt. No. What happens in this story? It's good. It's super short. In fact, I'm gonna go see if it's in the car once again. Aesthetics are important. It was in the car. I don't think Cormac McCarthy is a nihilist. I think he's a cosmicist. You know, if that makes sense. Could definitely resist the ring. I'm different. Yeah, everybody, I encourage everybody to watch Lord of the Rings again. Doesn't matter how recently you saw it. I'm not a big fan of the saga, but you're welcome to sell me on it. William, go watch the videos I've posted so far. There's 3. Take you less than an hour. Yeah, I don't think moral ambiguity is quite what it is. The moral ambiguity is often what fascinates me. So certainly about horror stories. So this is a little bit like Goodnight Mommy, if anybody's seen that movie. So the story is called The Pelt, and it's about this it's about this lady who lives in a rural ranch in central Texas, and there's cows in her field, and she's very much like me, and she's just like spent the day kind of like frustrated because of a fight she's had with her partner or whatever. And she's looking out the window and she's like, what the fuck is that? You know, when you see a strange shape and you're not entirely sure what it is, and you go out, and so she goes out to check out what it is, and it's a pelt. It's some kind of animal pelt that is hung over her fence. And she asks her partner about it the next day, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. He's a vet, and he says, sorry, those of you who haven't completed them, give it another shot starting tonight. Hooray! And he's a vet, and he's like, yeah, it's not a bear, it's not a mountain lion, it's not a elk, I don't know what it is. It's this mystery pelt. And he says, I'll go ask about it at work, see if somebody left it here for me for some reason. He comes back and says, nope, and I don't know what it is. And she says, where did you put it? And he says, oh, I hung it in the barn. And she goes and looks at it, and she just starts thinking. And the way that the story just describes her thinking about this is so good. She like, you know, looks up she looks up skinning processes to see how this was done and whatever. And eventually she starts to suspect that her partner is not himself. He's somebody different, you know? She sat beside him on the edge of the bed. He wore only the sweats he went to sleep in. She wanted and she's like tied her partner to the bed. It's the end of the story. There's one page left. And she says, say something Mike would say. And he says, say some, huh? Deborah, what? I am Mike. What the hell is going on? That wasn't what Mike would have said. Mike would have said, what the crap? Or come on, baby. This was someone else, a stranger. Who? Was it the person who left the pelt? Had they taken Mike's skin? Was Mike out there, hideless, wandering around? And what in God's name had the pelt come from? The stranger in Mike's skin continued to thrash. Look, Deborah, I know you're mad, but this isn't funny. I don't know what you're trying to prove here, but this is too far. This is too far, she echoed. The words didn't even mean anything. There was nothing behind them. She pulled out the gloves and the butcher knife. It wasn't quite the right kind, but it would have to do. The person on the bed started to cry. When she began her process of field dressing, starting with a careful incision near the pelvis, the crying turned to screams, blathering, phrases, words, incoherent sentences, complete gibberish. Finally, when she got to the rib cage and split it open like she'd learned, the noises stopped and she was able to work in peace. It was her first time to skin anything, but she thought she did pretty well. She didn't have to worry over much about tainting the muscle since she wasn't going to eat it, nor tearing the hide since she didn't care to keep it. All she wanted was to see inside, to see what had been wearing her husband's skin. When she was through, the pelt, organs, head, and extremities sat in a steaming pile on the tarp on the floor. The room smelled raw and metallic. She stood, removing her gloves, and looked down at what remained on the bed. It was acutely indistinct, meaty, still. Not her Mike. She'd been right. She didn't recognize what was underneath at all. And that's the end of the story. Shit. You know? That's that good moral ambiguity. Where'd the fucking pelt come from? Was it him or not? What book is this from? It's an anthology called Fears, Tales of Psychological Horror. It was a cosmicist a la Lovecraft. Yeah, Lovecraft is a decent comparison. Somebody who's like, and there's I mean, not that I made up the word cosmicist. I'm sure that there's some kind of philosophical description of what that is that isn't necessarily this, but when I say cosmicist, I'm referring to somebody who thinks of morality in terms of a sort of like universal gestalt, you know, that like the particularities of existence can be extremely cruel, but that's not necessarily the case for cosmic existence. Cosmic existence might exist outside any kind of sort of human perception of what is cruel and what is kind, you know. Yeah, the person on the bed started to cry. It's good shit. Hi, spooky teeths. We're just telling stories. Gerald's Game. I need to watch that movie. I need to read the book too. I hear it's one of his better ones. I will say I don't care for American Psycho. I don't like it. I think the movie's a lot better. But I hear very good things about Gerald's Game. I want the author's exact views. I only want views. Well, I think that like the views in a story, they just come out all on their own. If you just tell the story honest, you know, like if it's politics you're after, just tell a good story. The politics will emerge, you know. Cosmic existentialist and cosmic nihilist are actual terms in literature. There you go. Cosmic existentialist, if I'm correctly understanding what that means, and I think I am. It seems really self-explanatory. I'd call Cormac McCarthy a cosmic existentialist. Are we done with Fallout? We're not done with Fallout. I just like this week fucking sucked. It sucked personally. It sucked societally. I'm really drained. I'm really tired. I'm more than a little depressed. I didn't feel like shooting things in the American post-apocalypse today. Biggest disappointment of a film adaptation from a book. Oh God, there's gotta be, maybe Inkheart. That was a really great book that I really liked when I was a kid, and the movie was just a lot of kids adaptations are pretty disappointing, but the more recent adaptation of his Dark Materials is pretty good, I think. Psychological horror is a funny term because it isn't all horror psychological, maybe by extension. Percy Jackson. Oh, well, they're making that again too, so. Atonement. Oh, I like Atonement. I do think the book is better, but I think the movie's pretty good. Oh, Artemis Fowl. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. The new mood of autocratic certainty in Silicon Valley is summed up in 2023 manifesto written by the venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. Describes himself and his fellow travelers as undertaking the hero's journey, rebelling against the status quo, mapping uncharted territory, conquering dragons, and bringing home the spoils for our community. Go fuck yourself. You know? Oh my God, I hate them. Rooms at Stanford AI Lab. Goodness, doggy. He's been a real pain in the ass the past few days. He's taken to let me know if any of you dog people in the chat have any advice for a dog that is like, he's not super reactive, but he'll get in it. He'll like hear something in the night and fucking bark, and you hear how loud his bark is. We don't need him to be barking at 3 a.m. What the fuck? I'm not sure how to break him of that. I have read Possibilities. Yeah. What do you think about psychiatric diagnosis in general? Do you think it's too arbitrary in terms of defining symptoms, or do you think it helps? Both. Yes, and. I mean, we're still like sort of in the stage of. We're sort of still in the stage of psychiatric research where our like epistemological approach is that it's all biological and and a problem to be solved within the mind, and that's pretty clearly not the case. And like, we understand this passively. We know that, like, you know, trauma affects your mental health and the development thereof. But even in cases of, like, you know, we have a situation that like a sort of rupturing event. Hello, you're so annoying. You're so annoying. Sort of rupturing event in the mind. Like, we still sort of understand that as like, well, it must have caused like a physical change in the brain that you know, resulted in your mental imbalance. And I don't think that's, I think the more we learn about this, the more we will discover that that's probably not the case. I don't think there's any, like, you know, any like special ingredient in your synapses that if we just like come up with the proper drug and calibrate it exactly correctly, and that is, no. This is like, human beings get their meaning from each other. and 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 human beings affect how other human beings around them perceive things, you know, and to think about things. And I think that a sort of mental health as a process of and a process of and function of community is where we need to be headed. For example, I can't remember if I've mentioned this here before. I'm certain I have, because I think it's super interesting. And it's good. It's completely anecdotal, you know, so grain of salt, blah, blah, wackadoo. But nobody in my family in Mexico has, like, big fat mental health problems. Nobody's having mental breakdowns in my family in Mexico. The people in my family who have like diagnosed mental illness and have to maintain this like serious sort of like drudgery of a relationship with drugs and therapy and you know, mental health diagnoses are the Americanized generation, including me. Like of my generation of my family in the United States, I don't know, maybe like 40% of us have bipolar. And like evidently so, you know. And that's not the case for the family in Mexico. And I think that a large reason for that is because Mexican culture has its you know, in a lot of cases, it's certainly like the Mexican culture that I grew up in and familiar with and that my family derives from kind of has its support system built in, you know. You're not expected to just like Mexicans kind of go everywhere together, you know, and you drive each other fucking insane. You might not even like each other very much, but there is an expectation that you're never going to be alone, you know. Hey, get out of there. Anyway. I know that's what dogs do, but I don't need him to do that at 3 a.m. I know what dogs do. My dog doesn't do. I've never had a dog that just like barks in at 3 a.m. Over nothing. If there's something out there, go off, King. Hamptonite, have you read any Steinbeck? Oh, mental health is famous. Oh, absolutely undermined in Latin family culture. Certainly in Mexican culture. Yeah, no, my dad was like, you know, very like, no doctors, no drugs. But yeah, none of this is to say that like we should all be just like Mexican culture. Mexican culture has plenty of problems. Don't get me wrong, you know. Oh no, wokeness. Oh yeah, hella woke. Being woke on stream about psychiatry. That horror movie from the oh shit. Oh, I have to send that email. Let's see. Somebody sent me a presser. The movie is called Good Boy. Oh my god. Stop looking at my emails, guys. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Somebody sent me a thing where... Oh, maybe it was on the other account? Surely not. Anyway, it was the presser for Good Boy sent me a thing asking me if I want to interview sign up to interview the director. And I thought maybe that would be fun. I may have missed my chance. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Virtual press day. September 22nd. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. Virtually via Zoom. If you request an interview, please contact. Okay, yeah, I think I will do that. Won't that be fun? Yeah, I'm super excited about this movie. I think it looks good. Grapes of Wrath is good. Yeah, I think, Hampton, you would like Tortilla Flat also. And also Travels with Charlie in Search of America is very good. I think that Steinbeck is a fair counterpoint to your, I'd say, broadly accurate assessments of American authorship. Yeah, it looks super good. And like I wanna ask the director questions about, like the logistics of this and what he thinks he got out of using his, not only a real dog but his own dog, to star in this movie instead of like trying to CG it or something. Which of course he wouldn't have had the budget for that. It's pretty clear to me that this is not a movie that has that kind of budget. But I just wonder how he thinks about that. Yeah. The only American lit I've really read has been by Black Americans. Any suggestions, Spooky Teeth? I mean, it's a sort of basic Toni Morrison. Is it Richard Wright who wrote what's that book called? With Bigger Thomas. What's that book called? Native Son. Yeah. Erasure, Percival Everett. That's the book that American. What's that movie called? Shit. American Fiction. Yeah, that movie. Very good movie, based off a book called Erasure by Percival Everett. I recommend it. It's really good. It's really fucking funny. Yeah, dog is not the antagonist. Dog is the hero. Dog is seeing ghosts that his owner can't see. This chat should be co-authored in all your publications. Ooh, any pairings of fiction lit with the Dawn of Humanity? Oh, you mean the Dawn of Everything? I assume. Pairing of fiction. Shit. Let's see. I think it'd have to be a list, no? Nothing comes to mind. That's a really good question. I'm sorry I'm not, inventive enough to come up with a good answer on the fly. I'll write a sort of mini syllabus for myself. Carlos, if you're, oh my God, if you're on the Discord server, go ahead and DM me and tell me what you're into. I might be able to give you some recommendations. A Spinal Tap. I didn't know there was going to be a Spinal Tap 2. That's how out of the loop I am. Yeah, the premise is really great. And this dog is also really cute, He looks very expressive. I'm very excited. Yeah, Josie, I wondered why you brought up the PAZ, and meant to follow up and just moved on instead, I guess. An alternative to state-funded policing. I forget what his recommendation is. I assume it's some kind of You know, some kind of anarchic, mutually enforced type of thing. Maybe people switching roles, depending on the time of year, what year it is, or whatever. Nana Kwame J. Brenya. I don't know this person. Give me another tab. Oh, Changing All Stars, I know. Yeah. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. Just wish people stopped writing fantasy for a few years. I'm exhausted. The social media has kind of fucked up the literature industry the way it's fucked up everything else, you know. Oh, I'm leaning towards Steinbeck. That's how you reminded me. Gotcha. Interesting. What is it about Steinbeck? ¿Cómo hacen las gallinas? Oh, Marcata. Oh, did you not see my post? Entire Oz of Fantasy. Oh, yes. The con I just went to was very fantasy heavy, which is fine. Fantasy's perfectly fine. It's just book talk is really fucking up the the market for what publishers are considering desirable, I think. Read Lost People, Magic and Legacy of Slavery in Madagascar. I've read that a long time ago. This is what I mean about I want to read something and just have it in there all the time. Reliably. You know? I gotta revisit that book, I guess. Marcata never answered. Marcata, 3 of the chickens died. I don't think you were here when I was describing what happened. I let the chickens out, and then I forgot, and then I let the dogs out, and the dogs got chickens. And 3 of them died. And it made me very sad. It made me very, very sad. What do you feel about Smile 2 is how I feel about A Little Life. Yeah, I hear that about A Little Life. I have it on my shelf somewhere. I just haven't gone to it yet. Yeah. Yeah, it was 2 of my favorites. It fucking sucked. Cause I was all fucking distracted by the Charlie Kirk news, you know? Ridiculous. It's bad vibes on top of bad vibes. Just felt like a very, very inauspicious day, you know? Just bad omens. Oh no, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm fine about it. It was it's really easy to kill a chicken. You know? It's really, really easy to kill a chicken. They're very breakable. It's not that they're oh yeah, Your personal opinion on Vosh, or you think, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I don't really have anything that spicy. My opinions about Vosh aren't that spicy. I just I stopped using the word spicy. That word's been spent, I think. Me and my brother kill a lot of chickens without intention. Bunnies too. Just on the road, because everybody has their chickens and bunnies just running around everywhere. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I don't have like that many interesting opinions about Vosh. I don't think but it probably isn't polite to, tell tales out of school, I guess. How they survive so long. Chickens are not stupid. They seem stupid, but I don't think they are, actually. Oh, no, they were pets. Oh. I think the chickens saw the dogs the way people saw Titans in AOT. Yes, I do. I do. Yeah. One of the baby chicks is a rooster, and I'm gonna see if I can, if any of the hens want to hatch some eggs, I'll go ahead and let them, and see. I'm interested to see if I will be, if I will ever be in a position to raise meat birds, Oh, my condolences, Primita. It's fine. What I was saying is, like, yeah, it's really, really easy to kill a chicken. It's not that they're dead that really makes me sad or bums me out as much as it did. It's just that it said it was my fault, It was me. Like, I fucked up, about something that I really care about, That really sucks. It really sucks. But hey, I've done the work. I know what self-forgiveness is. I'm choosing to be more of a Frodo than a Gollum, let's say. Russ! Stop it! This week's depression that makes you feel like everything's going wrong. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like, again, with the whole psychiatry thing, like, sometimes you have really good reasons to be depressed. It's been a really depressing fucking week, I am a wonderful, wonderful owner. Really good at having chickens. They love me. I'm friends with all my pets. I like making friends with animals. It's fun. Yeah, let's all choose to be hobbits, It's a good thing to be. It's great to be a hobbit. Tolkien is arguing that we should all be hobbits. Being a hobbit is the best possible condition. Okay, I'm gonna take off. I've been here almost 3 hours. I want to go eat some leftovers and smoke a joint, probably. I don't know. This is gonna be the last stream for a couple weeks. I'm going to New Mexico, then I'm going to LA, and I'm coming back the first week of October, so I'll start back up then. Big reason I'm not having pets. One day I go home, my rats died or something. It's a wrap. Yeah, gotta be comfortable with death. Unfortunately, I'm quite comfortable with death. So do a vlog. Nah, I tried that on my last trip and it didn't work that well. I did reach out to Halloween Horror Nights and ask if they would sponsor my trip, but they never got back to me. If they do, then I may. We'll see. Oh, great weather. Yo, I bet. Yeah. I'm excited. I miss LA. Good night's already distracted you from research. Oh, no worries. I should yap more often. Okay, bye everybody. Mercado loves me a lot. Hampton loves me a little. I love you both the same.